Texas State officially to the Pac-12, and the Sunbelt says, thank you. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, we did pick up meaning me, the Bible, the PHIL STEELE college football preview. We'll talk about that here in the second segment. And I will tell you half of the juicy rumor, and you'll understand why I couldn't say anything all day Monday and why I could say it on Tuesday. I don't have the second half of the story, which would make it juicy. But you'll hang tight for that, I guess, as we all will. All right. So Texas State did announce and did officially vote, the Board of Regents, as expected, and I believe it was unanimous, that they're going to the Pac-12. Okay. So that is a done deal. Officially, this didn't start 2 weeks ago, but that's when we sort of found out about it. Pete Thamel reporting it and Kyle Bonagura reporting it 2 weeks ago. All right. I will say nothing's really changed. We'll get back to that here in a second, or in a minute or so. Texas Sunbelt put out a statement from Keith Gill. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically what appears to be one sentence. With Texas State's recent announcement of its planned departure from the Sunbelt Conference, I want to personally take a moment to thank the Bobcats staff for their collaboration and leadership through a transformative era in college athletic, from COVID-19 pandemic to a name, image, and likeness to the most recent round of realignment. All right. So they go on from there. And of course, the Sunbelt Conference is rising. Our best days are ahead. You can go find that anywhere and everywhere on social media. All right. All right. As far as I know, and I'm not saying I know anything other than what I've been told, nothing from my understanding has changed based on what happened a couple of weeks ago. So to recap, as I've recapped this a few times now, ECU, East Carolina, was approached as the Sunbelt wanted to kick the tires. They were doing the wait and see approach. All right. Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee were discussed. All right. I will say someone reached out to me on Monday and say some more schools have approached the Sunbelt. I don't know who they are. That person did not fill me in on that situation. All right. Nothing, as far as I know, has changed with Louisiana Tech. All right. When I say the next thing, it feels bad connotation. I don't really care in this case. Louisiana Tech has an agenda. They want in. I don't have an agenda other than I wanted Louisiana Tech in. I freely admit that. I don't really have an agenda, though. I see both sides of it. My side is rivals for the Cajuns and maybe a little Southern Miss, but certainly ULM. ULM is looking to save some money on it. That's the deal for ULM. They want to be able to commute for baseball, softball, basketball, soccer, whatever sport they're doing. You know, it is literally a half an hour bus ride. All right. So that's what ULM wants them badly to save, probably thousands and thousands of dollars. So ULM wants them. From my understanding, they're still being blocked. So all the stories that you're seeing, and I saw not Auburn, but Austin Sports Journal talk about it, that Louisiana Tech is getting in. Brett McMurphy said it again. I don't know if Brett McMurphy said it again, but if you look at all the media reports, it feels like to me, I'm sure Brett McMurphy has his own sources, but it feels like Brett McMurphy is repeating what Pete Thamel says. AL.com reported what McMurphy said. So that's nothing new. Those two things are the same thing. And again, it's not difficult to figure out where, when you understand what the story is, when you hear that Louisiana Tech is going to get a invite from the Sunbelt, well, who wants that? Louisiana Tech does. So who is telling the people that it's coming is Louisiana Tech people. All right. As far as I'm concerned, because again, things change, but from my understanding, nothing has. they're still being, the word blocked would be inappropriate. I don't know about inappropriate. It's probably correct. But they still don't have the support. And you do need a super majority. You need like 3/4 of the conference to vote them in. And they don't have those votes yet, from my understanding. All right. It does feel like where we are right now is in a little bit of a wait and see attitude from the Sunbelt. All right. That they knew this was coming and they kind of want to see how it's all going to play out, because the people who are saying East Carolina is not leaving the AAC to take an 80% pay cut, not to mention they got to roll out a bunch of money to get out of there. They're not wrong. The question is, let's see what the AAC looks like in a month. Because, again, Memphis is trying to improve themselves. I don't know if they're going to, do Pac-12 football and Big East everything else. As someone did say to me that Memphis wants into the Big 12. The Big 12 doesn't want Memphis. So, if Memphis leaves and you start splintering that AAC, all of a sudden schools sort of get nervous and don't want to not have a seat when the music stops. And that's how you might end up with, maybe you end up with East Carolina, Western Kentucky, and Tulane, for example. All right. Just putting it out there. I mean, that would be huge if you got a Tulane in there. You'd get the New Orleans market, and obviously an enormous rival for the Cajuns. And again, a little bit of a snobby thing. Tulane will tell you how great they are. they think very highly of themselves as well. But that would be enormous if that was the case. I'm just saying the potential of that down the road. So as far as I know, nothing has changed. All right. I don't know any other schools that have been considered. I don't know anyone's vote has changed to allow Louisiana Tech in. It just feels like it's the same news being regurgitated, as I have done that here a handful of times. So although, I guess Brett McMurphy said, I think it was over the weekend, that Louisiana Tech was going to, Texas State was going to the Pac-12, and in comes Louisiana Tech. Then the Austin Sports Journal did it. And again, I don't think anything changed with those reports. I think that is coming from Louisiana Tech, or doesn't take super genius to figure it out, Monroe. So we'll see how that goes. And again, things change. So I'm not worried if Louisiana Tech gets in. Schultz, you were wrong. Things change. It doesn't matter to me. Like I said, I want them in. I don't necessarily have an agenda whether they get in or not. I'm just letting you know what I know. And right now, as far as I know, nothing has changed in terms of all of that news. All right. So I think what has changed, I will rephrase that. It feels like the whole conference is kind of slowing down. We're not going to overreact to this. I'm not sure if they saw it coming, but they knew it was coming as of 2 weeks ago. The whole Texas State reached out to the Sunbelt a week ago and said, hey, we're headed over that way. And now just on a week later, it's official. I mean, that statement put by Keith Gill was typed up again 2 weeks ago, probably. This ball has been rolling for a while, right? But now it's just official. And so maybe that allows the Sunbelt to say, hey, this is where we are now. We can start to move forward with some of our discussions. I don't know. But I don't think anything, from my understanding, has changed very much in terms of, who the Sunbelt is considering. Again, the person who told me that other schools have reached out did not tell me who those schools were. We shall see how this all plays out. I don't think I sit here on, recording June 30th. It's July 1st while you're seeing this. Be surprised now, pleasantly so, if there were new teams announced by, technically it's 3 weeks from today, Sunbelt Media Days. Now I feel like there's a shot I could be there. I got an outside shot to be there. All right, let's take a time out. We will talk about what Phil Steele says about the Sunbelt. I feel like I'm good at talking out of both sides of my mouth. It doesn't feel like it feels like Phil is doing it, but not taking it into consideration. I'll explain right after I tell you about FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like it's must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right. What Phil Steele is saying about the Sunbelt, because my biggest question is, and obviously he's working on this, and he got a lot of transfers right when he's writing about it. He's got JMU top dog in the East. He's got the Cajuns top dog in the West. Cajuns lost a lot of players. They did get Walker Howard back. We'll see how good that is. All right. Again, you're going to get a lot of Joe Burrow comparisons. Didn't play hardly at all for 3 years. Now he's coming home, and we'll see how he does. All right. You do have, Phil Steele actually has the Cajuns and Texas State number 1 each. The problem is I don't know who Texas State's quarterback is. Is it Brad Jackson? Is it Nate Yarnell? Is it somebody else? Until I know that, it's tough to make a decision. Let me see if who he's got here for the Texas State quarterback. Obviously, for JMU, he's got Matt Sluka with Alonzo Barnett, the third out. But also, we'll get back to JMU. Well, we'll do JMU right now. Here's the thing about JMU. And someone pointed this out to me, so I heads up to that. But, with Arkansas State, he thinks there's a regression because they won some close games last year. JMU lost some very winnable ball games last year. They went on the road and lost to ULM. They went on the road and lost to App State. All right. Now, ULM was better than everybody thought they were. Absolutely. And App State just had a tough year. All right. They were nowhere nearly as good as I thought they were going to be. And that was one of, if not the best win that they had after what was a disastrous season. And then was it Helene landing in lovely Boone, North Carolina, and causing, severe damage that we're still trying to recover from today. And so JMU had some tough losses. They do not have an easy schedule by any stretch of the imagination. This is not all Sunbelt, but they are at Louisville. Hopefully I'm going to see that game live and in person. Georgia at Liberty. They're at Georgia State. They're at Texas State. They're at Marshall, and they're at Coastal. At home, they're getting Weber State, Georgia Southern, the Cajuns. Old Dominion is homecoming. That's a huge ball game. That game is enormous. At Texas State is on a Tuesday. They get App State and Washington State. How about that? Washington State's coming over to James Madison. And they're at Coastal. I mean, that is not an easy schedule. Although it does say schedule difficulty 111th. So I don't know. I don't know what we're going with there. I'm trying to figure that one out. So they had a couple of bad losses on the road. All right. And it's tough for me to figure out how we're going to get better than what Alonzo Barnett the third did last year. Let me see if I got his stats because he was ridiculous. 60% completion percentage, 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Good luck, Matt Sluka, with that one. Not to mention, did he do any running? Let me see if he did any running. 700 yards, over 700 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So, very interesting. All right. Again, the other surprising thing is he's got Southern Miss number 3. How about that? He's got Southern Miss right behind the Cajuns and Texas State tied with South Alabama. I think South Alabama is the surprise at number 3. Again, with Gio Lopez there, they're contending for the title, but he's not there. So we'll see how that goes. Although he's got, I don't know if this is a cop-out or not, but he's got, and when we're saying we're talking PHIL STEELE. Louisiana, Texas State, number 1. He's got Southern Miss, South Alabama, and Troy, number 3. Whew. I like the direction that Troy is going in, but I don't know about that. I don't know about that. All right. Then he's got Arkansas State, number 6. He's got Jalen Rayner coming back, and he's got Arkansas State 6th. I don't get it. Going to have to reach out to some people in Jonesboro. Kara Ritchie, we're looking at you. Why is everybody down on Arkansas State? It'd be one thing if we don't think we're going to win 10 games. That's one thing. They don't think they're going to win 6 games. That's another. And ULM bringing up the rear at 7. Over in the East, after James Madison, you do have Georgia Southern. I mean, this kind of has to be the year for Clay Helton. And Old Dominion is number 3. That could be the surprise team if Colton Joseph and Old Dominion can contend in the division really for what is the first time. All right. App State is 4. New coach there. Tim Beck in Coastal Carolina trying to figure out the quarterback situation. Do have Grayson McCall on the sidelines. That's big. Georgia State, see if they take the next step. And you do have Marshall. I think Marshall's going to be better than people think. I do. I'm not sure. Let's see if we get what that schedule looks like. I'm not sure if they're going to be a contender. Obviously, they are the defending champion. But I'm not sure that is going to be, they're going to necessarily bring up the rear. They're at Georgia. That's not the easiest place to start. Obviously, Missouri State, Eastern Kentucky, at Middle Tennessee State. I mean, they could be 3-1, right? Then they are at the Cajuns. They get an off week. They host Old Dominion. Then they host Texas State. I mean, they basically get a month at home. They get 2 off weeks. They're at the Cajuns September 27th. Their next road game is October 30th. You got to take advantage. You got to win those 2 ball games against Old Dominion and at Texas State. Then you're at Coastal, James Madison, at Georgia State, at App State, Georgia Southern. Yeah, so that back end is loaded. You gotta do some damage against Old Dominion and Texas State, 2 of what PHIL STEELE is picking to be some big time teams. All right, and then no, we did it all. So again, I don't understand the Arkansas State thing. I'm going to belabor that point if I already haven't. And everyone's really high on James Madison. We shall see. Moving forward, I'm not quite as high on Louisiana as everybody else is, or Texas State. If I don't know who your quarterback is, I can't be high on you. That may be a cop-out, but until you tell me who the quarterback is, it's tough to judge. Same with South Alabama. I like the direction Troy is going in. I think Southern Miss is going to be better than people think. But Arkansas State finished in 6th. That's a little rough. All right, let's take a timeout. All right, we will get to what this half. I'm not sure we're going to get to the juicy part, but we do have some news to report. I don't think it's a huge surprise, but we will do that when I come back right after this. I mean, we're all so close to 80,000 views. That is some kind of record. I mean, you know, I was happy with 30,000 views. You know, claiming a record in April, and now we're at 80,000 views. Yes, I've been the beneficiary of the LSU fans. Don't have to be a genius to figure that out. But also Sunbelt expansion. So really appreciate it. We had 43 subscribers between January 1st and April 1st. Had almost 200 subscribers in June. If I can keep that pace up, I got a shot at 2,500 subscribers by the time the season kicks off at the end of August. Why not go for it? 2,500 subscribers. Remember, we're trying to do 2025 for 2025. Let's see if we can get 2,500 now for 2025 by August. And that's 5 or 6 subs a day. It can be done. It can be done. All right. Really, thank you so much. Don't forget about those audio podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think they're on. We're on everywhere, but those are by far the most popular. Thank you so much. Okay. I don't know if this is going to be a letdown or not. It is news. All right. And I would tell you the juicy part, it hasn't come yet. All right. We're still waiting for the second part. And the reason I didn't announce it on Monday is, and I had to do some research on this because if you just ask, it doesn't tell you. I waited until the portal closed, and the portal closed midnight, July 1st. Well, okay. So that's Monday into Tuesday. I had to double check that too. All right. So the portal, you had to be in by midnight, July 1st. So that's basically 11:59 Monday. All right. So the portal closed midnight, July 1st, because midnight the next day is July 2nd, obviously. All right. So the news is the Louisiana Raging Cajuns are looking for a new pitching coach. Gunnar Leger resigned last week. All right. I do not know why. I don't know why. I heard it was mutual. I can confirm that he resigned. That is for sure. That's not a rumor. That is 100. I don't know why I made that sound. That's 100% true. The juicy part is where he may or may not land, and I'm waiting to find out where that is. All right. That's where the juicy part comes in. We wish Gunnar all the best. All right. Absolutely. Did a phenomenal job with the Cajuns pitching staff 2 years ago. Got him to the regional final against A&M. They were one arm short. Maybe been a little bit tired by the end of the year. I'm not sure that's a Gunnar Leger problem, and we're going to get to that here in a second. But he means a ton to the Raging Cajuns program. All right. And so if it is mutual, if it is a parting of the ways, it is what it is. Okay. Now, here's where it's going to get tough. Okay. This falls on one guy's shoulders. Right or wrong, he's the head man. All right. This is on Matt Deggs because he's the guy. The buck stops with him, and he's going to be the first person to tell you that. All right. I already did the video where I said to think that you want Matt Deggs out is ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. All right. After one bad year, the turnover of talent, I think that's outrageous. However, you lose your pitching coach who had connections to the last coach, and whatever happened, and now it's been, a month from the season. What took so long, and they lost a bunch of players, the Luke Uhas's, the Caleb Stellies, right? You lost a bunch of players that only had really 1 year left of eligibility. Some have stuck around, but you did lose some players. And that one, that you couldn't work it out with a pitching coach that was part of the program. And so this is on, I'm sorry to put it this way, this is on Matt Deggs. He needs to be right. Basically what I'm saying is he needs to be right. He's got to get this right. Because you start having another year like you just had, then the seat's getting hot. There's not going to be any simmer. There's not going to be any warm. It's going to get hot. Like, it's NCAA tournament or bust next year for Matt Deggs. It really is. It's not super regional or Omaha or hosting a regional. They need to make the NCAA tournament next year. They need to be competitive in the Sunbelt. They were not competitive in the Sunbelt. If they can host a regional, great. If they can be in a spot where they get a national seed, fantastic. But it is, they need to be NCAA bound, because then it's going to be hot fast, right? And so when you make a change like this isn't some random coach that came from some random program. This is Gunnar Leje. He didn't pitch for the Cajuns 2 decades ago, although it is getting close to a decade. Maybe not. So, he's close to the program from, Louisiana. So it's going to be a tough loss and a pill to swallow for Cajuns fans. The juicy part is where he may or may not land. Now, it's out there where that may be. I'm not putting that part out there until I get it, until that part is confirmed. That we're not doing either. So we shall see how that ends up. All right. And if he ends up in a certain spot, that's when it becomes a juicy Sunbelt. Well, in that case, story. But it is a big loss for the Cajuns. We'll see who they hire next. But obviously it's a big spot for Matt Deggs. It absolutely is a 100% big spot for Matt Deggs, because he's got to get it right now. I don't want to. This is the way it's going to look. It may not be the case. All right. When you chase off Gunnar Leje, and again, it may not be the case, you got to get it right. That's all I'm saying. All right. It may be time for him to go. He hadn't been there that long, right? He'd only been there, I guess, 3 years, 3 seasons. I guess he was there when I was there. Yeah. So it's only been 3 years. So maybe they butted heads. Who knows? This is a guy that doesn't have the same lineup 2 times in a row. I don't think he had the same lineup twice this year. That was the thing. And that was the thing the previous year. He did not. It took him a long time to have the same lineup twice. Forget about in a row. It took him a long time to have that. So, but that was the story. Didn't have anything to do with expansion. I held back because of the portal. I said it in the first. I had to go back and watch it. I said in the first 7 seconds, it didn't have anything to do with the Sunbelt expansion, and everybody's like, expansion. I mean, people either have listening comprehension, they're not paying attention. I said it in the first 7 seconds. But I had a juicy rumor. Yeah, technically it's not clickbait, because you didn't click anything. If I had a rumor and put that out there and then put a link for you to click, then that'd be clickbait. But I just put it out there. I don't get anything for that. I get something for the podcast. I do. All right. We'll see if I'm getting anything more for the 80,000 views. I sure hope so. Just a little bit more. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, some news could come later today. It appears to me that the Sunbelt is slow playing what's going on here with the conference. I don't think anything is inevitable over the next couple of days. But again, that could change. Again, I'm sure I'm going to get called out if La Tech ends up joining. I'm not even sure that means the source is wrong. It means that someone changed their mind. Well, more than one person changed their mind. More than one school changed their mind. That's what happens. And that's okay. I want them in. All right. I just don't think they're being welcomed right now. All right. Stay tuned for the second half of that juicy rumor. We'll see if we can nail that down when it happens. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Keep following along on YouTube, subscribe, and those Spotify and Apple podcasts. Really a big help. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. We'll talk to you later on in the week.